everybody, welcome back to On the Grid, and in today's video I want to test out something after having a conversation with a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and we were talking a bit about force feedback, and he does esports championships, and he's been doing them, I guess, say since Forza RC started, a few years ago. And so he said, something that esports racers do is they run very low force feedback. So I was like, okay, well, why would you run very low force feedback? That wouldn't make any sense. And he said, well, it's actually kind of a trick to be able to get faster lap times. And I was like, okay, well, that theory just doesn't make any sense to me at all, because obviously the more force feedback or the more information you have coming through the wheel, the better, because you get to judge your corners, you get to judge your oversteer, your slip, and all the different aspects of what's happening with the car and your connection with the car and the road. And he said, well, yeah, in theory, but he said the actual trick is when you have low force feedback, you make less reactions to what you think is happening to the car. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to test this out. I don't think that makes any sense at all. But he said, well, try it out, see if you do better lap times. So that's what we're going to do today. And I actually encourage you to do the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I ran some laps on the GTR here on Bathurst, and I figured Bathurst is perfect for that because it's quite a technical circuit. There's some like nice long straights and a few chicanes that are quite tricky, especially through the S's. And so I figured that would be the best track to test this on. I will go in and show you really quickly once we're in there what my force feedback settings are, and I've covered it multiple times in different videos. So as I was saying, what I did do is I ran a few laps with no force feedback, medium strength force feedback, and then my regular, just to kind of not go in blindly into what I was doing. So, and I wasn't pushing, I wasn't trying to get the best lap times or anything. I was just trying to get comfortable with having no force feedback or very low force feedback. So I'm going to start off with my regular force feedback, and we'll do a couple of laps. This way, by the time I get to the third lap, I'll run with very low force feedback and kind of see what the difference is. All right, so what we're going to do actually is, I think it would be easier for me to keep my on wheel at 80, and then I'll just adjust the in-game so you can see me dialing it down. So we'll start at the 100, but my default on wheel is going to stay at 80. We'll do one lap there, and then we'll put it down at 50%, and then we'll go down to, say, 10, 20% and see what the difference is. Don't need to change any settings. We're just going to go with defaults, and let's see what we do. You can see the force feedback meter. There's a lot of detail coming in. I think it's so important to be feeling what's happening with the car when you're coming through these kind of corners here, especially this technical section that's coming up. I love this track so much. With these really nice long straights, but some really technical sectors, which is, oh, it's great. Nice mix. Didn't take that line as usually I do. 2:05.7. That was a pretty decent lap. I've done lower than that, but that was good for now. All right, so we drop this down to 50%. I think really where we'll see the differences in some of the corners where I won't feel what the car is doing, so I'll make less corrections. But we'll see. Like right there. That's just weird. Some of those corners I never would have taken them like that. This is my first or second time, it's like my second time running this on low force feedback like that. I don't know. That's crazy. 2:05.3. Okay, I was not expecting to do better because I was really not feeling very much in the car. But I can understand what he's talking about when you're going through some of those corners. I took some of those corners like really tight, and I'll point it out in the next one. I can't remember the corner name or the corner number, but right before the S's. So that corner there, I went in really tight there, and I never would have done that before. So I'm actually quite surprised. And so let's go really quickly into, and we'll dial this down to, say, let's do 20. Well, let's do 15% because they don't run them on no force feedback. So that wouldn't make sense at all. What would the point of having a wheel be if you have no force feedback? So I would say, you know, maybe like 40, 50, somewhere around there might make sense. And I get why running low force feedback, but let's try it at 20% and see what that does. Just out of curiosity. It's funny, but I can kind of see where that point of view is coming from and how it would make sense. For me, I love to feel the force feedback. I love to feel the resistance in the car. So I don't know. It's a tough one, but let me just go in and do the 20% and we'll see how that works out. I feel nothing at all. You can see the force feedback meter is much less detailed. Yeah, this is not something I would definitely suggest. It just makes no sense at all. But just for fun. It's just not a good feeling at all, not knowing anything that's going on with the car. And it's obviously showing in my lap time. It's definitely not a good lap. I find that quite interesting, actually. So normally, as I said, the first lap that I did, I run that at my default setup, and dialing that down to 50%, it did feel odd for the first, I'd say, first half a lap. But as I start to get comfortable with it, I think that's kind of really when what he was saying to me when we were having the conversation about the overcorrections and you tend to not do those same mistakes. And that's kind of like the trick. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think I'd have to spend a bit more time, but what I would really love is if you guys would do the same exercise yourself. Go grab whatever game that you're comfortable with, whatever track that you're used to running with, and try it out. Go at your default setup of what you normally run those tracks with and those cars with. Then, slowly kind of bring it down to say even 60, 50, 40%. Obviously, I would not suggest doing it 10, 20, or 30%. I mean, that just makes no sense at all, especially if you have a direct drive wheel. What's kind of the point of having a direct drive wheel if you're not going to use, the power of it and the force that you can get with it? I do find it interesting, though, to try and run this. I'm going to do this with my other titles and try it and run at, say, 50% or 40%. And just see what kind of lap times I do and if it does make a difference. So I'd be really curious to know what you guys think and what your feedback is. And please share your experiences with me. I would love to hear so we can either prove them wrong or prove them right. As always, guys, I really appreciate you watching the videos. Please subscribe and we'll catch you guys again soon. All right, take care.